Welcome, welcome, welcome to our virtual event tonight. I'm so excited about being here. I love these conversations, especially with these ladies. I tell you, we come with a wealth of information tonight. We're going to be talking about ensuring Black mental health and wellness. So, with me tonight, I have Angela Aina. She's Black Mama Matters Alliance co founder and executive director. Hi, Angela. How are you?
Hi.
Welcome, welcome. We also have Dr. Dr. Joia Crear-Perry, National Birth Equity Collaborative founder and president. Hi, Dr. Joya.
Hey, so nice to see you, Cheryl. It's nice to be here. Nice to be seen, actually. Hey, everybody.
Right, right. And then we also have Aza Nahari, right? Or Nadari. Let me get it right. Tell me what it is.
It's Aza Nedhari.
Nadari. There it is.
Yes.
All right. Aza Nedhari. I want to make sure I say it correctly. Mamatoto Village co-founder and executive director. I love these conversations. I love these powerful women that always come on every single time, giving us a wealth of information. Again, ensuring Black mental health and wellness. Now, tonight we're going to be talking about Black mental health. It's Black Mental Health Week. So, as I introduce all the folk that are here, April 11th through the 17th is Black Mental Health Week. I want each of you to give me the importance of Black Mental Health Week and how that correlates with your organization. So as we share that, before we get into that, let me do the drill. Thank you for joining us tonight to our audience, right? Thank you so much. I want you to share, 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 and like, right? And tell everybody about this great conversation, ensuring Black mental health and wellness. It is going to be some information that I'm sure you'd like to share with your community. So share it on your page for all that's joining us. And if you have comments, we want to hear from you. Make sure you throw it in there on our Facebook and YouTube pages, and we'll put it up for our experts to answer. So now let me jump back into our first question, jumping ahead of myself. Maternal
Maternal.
Health Week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Black Maternal Health Week. Let me get that right. It's happening this week, April 11th through the 17th. And so tell us what that means for you guys. Give us the importance of Black Maternal Health Week. And then I keep saying mental, but I know it's maternal, right? Black Maternal, you see the banners, Black Maternal, because we're talking about our reproductive systems, reproductive rights. So tell us what Black Maternal Health Week means to you guys, and tell us about the organization, how it correlates. So we'll start with you, Aza.
Thank you. And mental health, Black mental health is also important. So we'll lift that up as well.
Absolutely.
In the
So maybe we
conversation
need
for
to
this
throw that in,
in the
right?
conversation for this week. But for Mamatoto Village, Black Maternal Health Week is every day, right? And for so many of us who are doing this work. But this really creates the opportunity for the public narrative and focus to intently shift towards Black women, birthing people, and their families. Black Maternal Health Week is a critical and a necessary public health awareness effort that centers the discourse, offers space for celebration and joy in Black mothering and parenting, right? Which is kind of narrative shifting from the way that we've been talking about Black maternal health, and really also raises the profile of community-based organizations, the movers and shakers in this space who are doing life-affirming work. Mamatoto Village is getting ready to open a new space. We bought a building in Ward
Yeah.
7. And so for us this week, we are hosting a sneak peek with the mayor's office. We're doing a social media campaign, and then we'll be featured on several media platforms throughout the week.
Now, where is Mamatoto Village located?
So Mamatoto is located in Washington, D.C. in Ward 7, which is east of the river.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Before we go to you, Angela, I want to welcome to our platform Marcela Howell. That's my sister. I tell you, every single time we get together with these great conversations, I learn so much, Marcela. Welcome back to the platform. Now, Marcela Howell is the president and CEO of In Our Own Voice, National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Agenda. And she's with us today as we talk about enduring Black maternal health and wellness. Welcome, Marcela.
Well, thank you very much for having us, having
I
me
think
here again. I really enjoy being here with these wonderful, wonderful women who work on this issue nonstop, all over throughout the calendar and things.
Yes, and I got to tell you, I learn so much every time we all get together. I feel this whole Black girl power thing going on every single time, and I'm so proud and excited to share the platform. So thank you, Aza. Just gave us description of her organization and what Black Maternal Health Week means for her. So Angela, do the same. Tell us what it means for you guys, and tell us a little bit about the organization, how it correlates.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here. At the Black Mamas Matter Alliance, we actually founded Black Maternal Health Week along with NBEC, Mamatoto Village, and so many organizations that are part of the alliance. And it's really a week that we created back in 2017, but then implemented in 2018 to create and designated a week for awareness, activism, community building, aimed at amplifying the voices of Black mamas and centering the values and traditions of reproductive and birth justice movements, like what Aza said. And so Black Maternal Health Week is important because it uplifts Black women-led organizations to focus on the root causes of what is considered poor maternal health outcomes, while also engaging Black voices to lead immediate conversations around community-driven policies, uplift innovative programs happening all around the country in our communities. We're so excited because this is the 5th anniversary of Black Maternal Health Week, and it's the second time that it's being recognized by the White House under this administration. So every year, we work with the Congressional Black Maternal Health Caucus to introduce a national Black Maternal Health Week resolution to activate champions on the Hill, because we know that policy change is needed in order to maternal mortality in the United States. For this year, the theme Black Maternal Health is building for liberation, centering Black mamas, Black families, and Black systems of care. And it also features community-based providers leading change and highlighting resources through this week-long endeavor of events across the country. Everyone can learn more about Black Maternal Health Week by going to blackmamasmatter.org/BMHW to learn all about the local events of all of our partners in our alliance, and then also follow us into all the things and resources that we are lifting up this week. In addition to shining the light on organizations during Black Maternal Health Week, we are amplifying also our local partners, which include reproductive health providers as well, who also include the full spectrum of both maternal and reproductive health services, social services, wraparound services in their locale. And we really want to uplift a lot of the literature, publications, toolkits, issue briefs, everything you can think of that impacts Black maternal health. We have been releasing those resources throughout this week on our platform. So that's what Maternal Health Week means to us, Black Mamas Matter Alliance. Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Dr. Joia?
Yeah, so as Angela mentioned, this is really a continuation. I'm excited that I get to speak after both my amazing colleagues, Angela and Aza, and right before the brilliant Marcela, because it's a great fit for where our organization fits in the conversation around Black maternal health. When we started this conversation back in 2017, we knew that there was an International Day around maternal health, and that Black women and Black birthing people in the United States really need to be a part of an international or a transnational or anti-Blackness global movement, right? So we really said this week needs to be tied to the International Day. And we know the history of this country. When you claim a week, right? Like when you claim a day, when you claim Black History Week, it becomes a month, it becomes the movement, right? When Black folks move, everybody moves. So this week is so important for us because it really shows how the leadership of the people on the ground, the leadership of people like Aza and Angela and Marcela can be tied to actual policy. We now, as Angela mentioned, the White House has now declared Black Maternal Health Week, so we can have both activism in the streets, where we are making sure that we continue to have doulas who are and midwives who are and continue to do the work, but also policy change, healthcare providers, the highest level of government, from the UN to the White House. So we want it all. We want to ensure that we have justice and joy for all people. So having this week allows us to highlight the importance of our legacy and our history and to build power together and do what Marcela's been doing up here in DC all this time, making policy change so we can change the world.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so Marcela Howell is with us, and we've been talking with Marcela a few months now with regards to these issues. And I'm so excited to talk about, this week being Black Maternal Health Week. And so, Marcela, talk about your organization again. And I love how you pull all these amazing women together to give us all of this great information. But talk about your organization and what Black Maternal Health Week means to you.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. And thanks all the wonderful women who you've had speak just before me. I take my inspiration for work from them. They are the experts on this issue. And all I do in our organization, as you know, In Our Own Voice, National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Agenda, is a policy organization at the national and state levels. We have 8 partners across the country who work in their states, and we help to basically push policy through that will help Black communities thrive. And so this week, Black Maternal Health Week, is one of the critical policy issues that we work on in terms of pushing Congress, working with members of Congress and with the White House and with agencies to really get them to understand the importance of some of the policy pieces that they do. Along with these women and others, we have been working with the White House to make sure that the Momnibus Act, which was a bill, a collection of bills that were introduced in the Congress, that those things were added to the president's Build Back Better plan, which is now currently stalled. But one of the things we are working for is to make sure that as they pare down that plan, all of the Momnibus pieces stay in it, that the issue of Black maternal health doesn't get lost. As you know, because in Congress, what happens is they introduce something, people don't like it, then they start negotiating, and very often Black women get negotiated out of it. Well,
Wow.
the Momnibus bill we want to keep in. So we are really making sure that that's going to happen. And we encourage other people to contact the White House. And all you've got to say is Build Back Better and Momnibus Act. And that's what needs to be kept in there. And, you know, we were able, along with other groups, to get Medicaid expansion of postpartum care.
Wow.
It used to be like 60 days. It's now a year. And it allows other states, all the states, to basically opt into this plan. And I'll talk a little bit about those states that have already opted in and what it really means in those states. But those are the kind of things that we work on day in and day out. And this is just really, really important.
I love this. And I love that you guys are fighting for maternal health. I had a preemie myself, and going, being my first baby, not knowing, going in blind, and knowing that we have women like you guys advocating for those of us that are African American women, because I hear that the ratio of African American women who have premature babies are higher than any other race. And so I know that we need people advocating for us to reduce that number one, and to educate us, because going in, I had no idea what was going on. But they also told us that African American female babies survive more than any other species of babies, like any other. Their survival rate is better than African American male, white male and female. So that was a plus on our side. I had a daughter who actually was fighting, and so I know what it's like when you're talking about your reproductive system and maternal health. Because had I not had a company that stood behind me to make sure that I got the leave that I needed 6 weeks before she was delivered, and then after she was delivered, and then dealing with postpartum, not having the information that I needed. I love the fact that we have advocates like you guys pushing the facts and pushing this information. It is the primary election season. And last time, Marcela, you were here, we were talking about voting rights, right? We were talking about voting rights. Talk about how it correlates with Black maternal health, and how the two, are connected.
Well, you know me, I think voting correlates with everything.
Right.
And the reality is that one of the things that we get, I mean, when we participate in our system and vote and elect officials who listen to us, who know our values, who are willing to fight for us, who come from our community and understand the issues that we have to fight on, and are looking not so much to just solve an issue, but to ensure that Black communities thrive. That's what voting means. And this time, we were able to get people into office in 2018 with the Congress, with the House of Representatives, and then in 2020 it was Black women's votes who put Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in the White House. And that meant something. It meant not only just naming a Black woman to the Supreme Court, which has happened. She's been nominated and confirmed. But it also meant that we got certain policies through. And even during, one of the important periods after someone gets elected as president is there's a period of transition. And we were able to make sure that a large number of Black women were involved in that transition on issues, and were able to basically fill in and say what was important for Black women. And that's how we got not only the Omnibus Act with the 12 bills that are in that, but we also were able to get certain things added into an agenda through the Gender Policy Council, that is a White House council that works with all the different agencies. And Joia will talk a little bit more about another White House entity that we want to have formed, and have them really understand how that interacts with Black communities. But that was one of the things that was so important. You vote for somebody and then you hold them accountable, which is why, again, I encourage everybody, call the White House. All you've got to say is Build Back Better and the Omnibus Act. Make sure that people understand that those two things have to go together. We cannot lose that piece.
Got it. I love what Deneen Robinson says. She says policy drives everything. So
yes, Deneen.
I love that. All right. So Dr. Joia, Black women are nearly 3 times more likely to experience a pregnancy-related death than their white counterparts, as we said earlier. As a physician, is there a medical explanation for this? We always hear about how we are disproportionately always the group of people that get some of these disparities. I want you to answer that. And you also say we need a culture of respectful maternal care to change the maternal health crisis. Talk about what that means. But first off, is there a reason why we are, having more issues than any of our counterparts?
Yeah, and I first want to go back and thank you for sharing your story of having a premature birth. I too had a son who's now 25 who only weighed about a pound when he was born. Right. And I also want to think you could the truth is the reason that we're more likely to die in childbirth and the reason that we have premature babies is not because we have different genes or because we have make different choices. It's because racism, a belief in a hierarchy of human value based upon skin color, has been codified in this country and around the world for hundreds of years. And so how we're treated in the hospital, so even the conversation when you mentioned that they told you that the Black girls live, it's amazing to me. Every time we go to ICUs, they love treating us poorly until we get pregnant, but they cheer us along. Those Black babies do so well. There's nothing magical about a Black premature baby, lungs or kidneys that's different than a white premature baby's. But this belief that we can suffer so strong, or we're going to be so strong even when we're in the NICU, is also harmful. We know that Black premature babies actually thrive when they have a Black neonatologist. We have data from Dr. Rachel Hardiman that shows cultural concordance, having physicians who look like you is what we need. We don't need them to cheer us along and tell us some magical story about Black genes or Black bodies. We need them to actually invest in having Black physicians and Black nurses and Black doulas and Black midwives. So the reason that we have poor outcomes in the Black community is not because we're making bad choices. It's not because we're not doing the right thing. We're doing lots of things. We're building clinics across the river when nobody else wants to show up. We are investing in Black birthing people and facilities across the world, but what we're not getting is the policy at the level that Marcela is talking about and change the entire structure, because currently our structure is based upon white supremacy.
Wow. Now, you know what? And I've never heard it that way, of course, because that's how it was shared to me
Yes.
when I went to
Me
the
too.
hospital.
They told me the same. They told me my black boy was the most likely to survive because black boys are more likely to survive. They can figure out a way to make it always sound like something we got to do for ourselves versus investing in us living and thriving. Trust.
Wow. Wow. Angela, how can birthing people better advocate for themselves? How can birthing people better advocate for themselves? And I'm assuming that means moms and those who are having babies, right?
Yeah, well, all
Or
birthing,
doulas.
yeah, all birthing people need these resources. And so to just kind of switch around the question is, like Joia said, we need to do a lot more to change our system of care. So, all birthing people really do need the resources, opportunities, and support that enable them to protect their human rights to health and life and to make the best decisions for themselves and their families. And so in May, we really do work closely with doulas and midwives, physicians, public health professionals in our network. And especially with Black doulas and midwives in particular, we really do amplify their voices and what they say that they are needing, especially around policy change, because they are healthcare providers that provide emotional, physical, and informational support to birthing individuals. And we believe that Black doulas and midwives in particular are very critical aspects of birthing journey in the maternal health care team. So with doulas and midwifery care support during pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum, we know that it helps to reduce rates of deliveries, prematurity. It helps reduce prematurity and illness in newborns and the likelihood of postpartum depression for birthing people. Black doulas and midwives, especially the care that they provide, also helps to improve overall satisfaction with the experience of childbirth care and increases breastfeeding initiation and duration, specifically in communities. Black doulas and midwives, and this is especially when we talk about Black midwives, talking about midwives of all designations. Everyone from community-based midwives to CPMs to side nurse midwives, but all Black midwives and Black doulas are very essential to the maternity care team, and we really want to emphasize that because of a lot of the positive maternal health outcomes that they can provide once we're able to increase the pipeline of Black doulas and midwives everywhere. So we strongly believe that this is the support that a lot of birthing people in particular need, especially in rural areas. When we talk about rural healthcare and access to healthcare, a lot of times people assume that it's one demographic that centered around, but we know that there are Black birthing people in rural areas, and in those same rural areas, there are lots of what is called maternity care centers. So more that we can pour into the pipeline of increasing Black doulas, Black midwives from a policy perspective, the more that we can get that care out to a lot of these areas that have these maternity care deserts. And so these are the ways in which birth people can receive these services. And in terms of what they can do to advocate, I would say that for them in particular, families, is to get involved in voting. And because this voting is where we get this policy change. And so if you want to see more improvements around Black maternal health in your area, you have to get out and vote. I will uplift that. Thank you.
Cheryl, I'm sorry, I didn't answer the part 2 of your question. Do you mind if I answer it now?
Yes, let's go back to it because I was going to ask you, about that.
About respectful, because honestly, when Angela started talking about the doulas and midwives, it reminded me
you,
of
right?
what I was supposed to talk about. And we talk a lot in the space of reproductive justice around both people who are inside of the work and transforming the systems, and that's really what our organizations do. And then we also have people who blow up the system, who do a totally separate thing outside the system, who really say there's no way you're going to fix and transform what has been baked into white supremacy, so we have to start over. So our respectful maternity care work is really saying we're going to work within the system, within the structure that we already know is kind of crazy, but we are all, millions of people are having babies inside of it, just like millions of people, and they want to be seen and valued. And so how do we ensure that? And that first means starting with truth. So truth is my field. I'm a board certified OBGYN, the founder of gynecology, J. Marion Sims, experimented on Lucy, Betsy, and Anarcha, and many other women without anesthesia. He was a plantation doctor. And the founding of my field decimated grand midwifery. It was based on patriarchy and white supremacy. And so when you think about how my field was created, that origin story makes it hard for us to create justice and joy out of the origin story of harm, control, and shame and blame. So we really, when we talk about respectful maternity care, the first part is honoring that truth, explaining to my fellow OBGYNs. We don't learn that. I didn't learn that in school. I learned that from my colleagues here on this call. I learned that in the reproductive justice space. We hadn't even been teaching the truth of our field. We hadn't been teaching that we don't, and there's a very core difference once you have that truth. Patients really want to be seen. We write things in the chart like non-compliant. If we could not write the word non-compliant, right? If patients had to be fully seen, we'd have to say things like patient didn't take medication because insurance companies do not value patients, right? And don't cover the medication. Patients don't just show up and not take a medicine because they don't want to take a medicine. We create systems and structures where patients are not allowed to. And then when you started off talking about mental health, that's a huge part of respectful maternity care. When you're not valued, when you're not seen fully, when you go into systems to receive care, the trauma, the racial trauma of even just trying to have a birth in a hospital where there are providers who may have harmed you, where you might have had obstetric violence in the past. I mean, all these other reasons why we really have to have a training and evaluation and a unlearning of the harm of patriarchy and white supremacy. So that's what we do it with our respectful maternity care, really leaning into working with nurses, doctors, front desk. Because when you interact with a hospital, it's not just the doctor and the nurse. It's the person pushing the patient in the wheelchair. It's the person checking your insurance. Every person that touches you is also impacting your care. So we need to unlearn this belief that we must blame and shame Black people. And when we say birthing people, the reason we use that term is because not everybody wants to be called mama. Not everybody's a woman that has a baby. And everybody has, we want to be really expansive with our language. So I like being called a mama. I have 3 kids, but not everybody wants that, right? So instead of us saying you must do this, instead of us blaming and shaming and telling people what they must do, we want to create a system of well-being, a system and a structure where we meet people where they are, and they should have an opportunity to be invested in to be able to thrive.
I was going to say that to the Adonna Morrison. We should all have Dr. Joia Crear-Perry.
And I just want to give a big ups to the National Medical Association. Dr. Rachel Villanueva is the current president, and it's the Black physician organization. It's been around since 1895, and we are really leaning into reproductive justice. We just had a whole panel around that, really talking about the importance of sharing and ensuring that we honor that, and we're learning, right? We're learning about the field that we signed up for. But we didn't know it, but if I would have known it was so harmful, I'm not sure this is what I would have done, right? So it's really important for us to be honest about that, and then build from that. You have to have truth telling before you can have healing.
Right, and we're already vulnerable when we're having babies, and when we're talking about our reproductive system, and we're just vulnerable anyway because we're so exposed, and so we want to make sure that we're being treated fairly. Aza, Mamatoto Village has a program that specifically trains members of the community to become birth workers. Tell us why that program is important for Black women and birthing people.
Yes. So I'm going to build on what Angela and Dr. Joia both shared. But Black women have always held space for one another through all of our reproductive journeys, right? Especially birth and mothering. So this is not a new phenomenon for us. We have always sought ways to build and sustain our families, to transmit knowledge, to carry forward our traditions and our legacies against all odds, right? And so for our training at Mamatota Village is really a continuation of this movement to reclaim and restore our ways of knowing and being, devoid of white gaze and validation. So our training is provides almost 200 hours of in-person education. And one of the unique aspects of our comprehensive workforce training is that it really focuses on the specialty of perinatal health infused with community health work. And it's also grounded in both reproductive and birth justice. The training really offers Black women, and that's who our focus is. That's who we care for. That's who we uplift and center. But it really offers Black women a stepping stone into leadership and economically sustainable careers that really encourage and foster community transformation. And the women who take our training, they're our clients, they're our sisters, right? The aunties, the cousins, the grandmothers in the communities that we serve. And our trainees have went on to become directors, midwives, both certified nurse midwives, certified professional midwives, community-based midwives, all the midwives, and clinical lactation consultants. We have folks who are now themselves becoming OBs and family docs and social workers, right? And so our approach to training and workforce development really elucidates the necessity to invest in community created and culturally resident models of education, training, and care, and really to move beyond just representation to this deeper awareness and operization of justice-centered care and decolonized frameworks. This year, we are relaunching a revised version and an expanded version of our training, as well as something that we're calling Mamatoto Village Academy, which is this culturally resident professional development platform consisting of both hybrid and asynchronous courses for perinatal health experts across the spectrum and all providers of all backgrounds. It's going to integrate case studies and interactive content, and a lot of interdisciplinary topics to really bolster knowledge, skill, and expertise of the perinatal health workforce.
That is so awesome. Where can we go? Where can we go to find out more information about that training or to take advantage of the training?
Yes, so you can go to www.mamatotovillage.com. You can always call us during business hours. Somebody will answer and be happy to speak with you. But that training will be launching again this fall. And so we're very excited. So once we open the building, we're opening back up the training as well.
Awesome. I'm sending my daughter there. She's she's actually a theater major and she wants to work more on the marketing end of the arts, but she's so intrigued with premature babies. Like she's 23 now. So, but she is so intrigued with that. And I think that her skill set might even, be an advantage to some of the things that might be entering in some of these opportunities. Marcela, the last time you and I were here, we spoke about the Black Reproductive Justice Policy agenda. You spoke a little bit about that, but how does the policy agenda address Black maternal health? And can you tell us more about the California Mamba Bus and the work your partner organization, Black Women of Wellness, did to help pass that legislation? And are any of your other partner groups working on similar legislations? We could break that down part by part because that's a
Exactly.
lot.
I'm like, honey, one at a time. I can't. I'm old. I can't keep up
That's
with
a
all the
lot to
questions.
talk about.
Well,
how does the policy address Black maternal health? Let's start there, and then we'll go to the next question after.
Well, first of all, again, the Black Reproductive Justice Policy agenda that you've heard me talk about before is something that we created with the help of 30 some odd Black women's organizations and reproductive justice activists. All of the women on this right now in this show contributed to that. So that portion of the agenda that deals with Black maternal health actually was written by the people who you've just been talking to. And so you've heard what it has in it. It's the things that they talked about that are really critical to make sure that Black birthing people are seen, that they understand what's going on with their bodies, that they are treated with dignity, that they receive care from long-term postpartum care, that it's not just, okay, you had a baby, here's the baby, you're out the door, call us in a week. It's literally the kind of prenatal care, maternity care, postpartum care that is critical to making sure that not only the birthing people actually thrive, but the children, the babies they have thrive. And it also, we included the things like I talked about earlier on the Omnibus Act, postpartum care under Medicaid. All of those things were all, written by the people on this call. They're the experts. And as I said, we went to the experts on all of these things. And so you've heard what they're saying. You've heard what they think is really critical. And, we listened and just wrote it up. And now we're pushing it in front of Congress and making sure. But it's also, as you asked, the second question, it's also something that our partner organizations are using in the state. And one of them is Black Women for Wellness.
Yeah.
Black Women for, the thing about being in California is you can take bills, and California legislature and governors normally push things through much faster, while you're fighting for a bill in Tennessee or in Georgia or somewhere else. California introduces it and then passes it in the same legislative session. And that's what happened with this particular bill, the California Omnibus Bill. And it had bipartisan support, which, in these days and age of partisan bickering is very difficult to happen, but it had bipartisan support. It was a bill that a lot of organizations signed on to, both locally and nationally. We were one of the co-sponsors of it. And Governor Newsom signed it into law in October. And, and the legislation was modeled after the federal maternal health bill, the Omnibus Act. And it really does allow people to really look at what are the needs there, and what are the kind of things that have to happen in order to make sure that Black birthing people really do thrive and survive, and that the babies they have thrive. And so, and it sort of goes against the kind of things that a lot of physicians, as Dr. Joia said, have been taught when they're going through medical school. It really does say, no, these are the kind of things we need. These are the kind of things we want, and these are the kind of things that we deserve. And that's exactly what the bill did. And it was, and the other piece of it is they are also working on another bill that's called Birthing Justice for California Families. It's a pilot program that really does look at making sure that everyone gets a full spectrum of doula care for a period of time, so that they are that all the kind of pieces that they might miss, some of it is pampering, because I think doulas do a great job of just taking care of mothers and birthing people that you don't really see all the time. And that's part of that. But they're also advocates for those people, to make sure they understand what's going on with their bodies, to make sure they understand the kind of questions. So the Black Women for Wellness, interesting enough, an organization that was started by a group of Black women, all of whom were pregnant, and wanted to basically come up with better ways of being treated. And so they were friends, and they started Black Women for Wellness years and years ago. And that's really what they still do. They still look at those kind of issues and make sure that that other people are getting that kind of care. One of the other organizations that has been doing some work around Black maternal health is New Voices for Reproductive Justice, that operates out of Ohio and Pennsylvania. But they basically did work with the Pennsylvania Black legislators to get Medicaid expansion for postpartum care passed. Under Biden's American Rescue Plan, there was a provision that states could get long-term postpartum care for people who were under Medicaid, but the states had to opt in. And some states didn't want to opt in. Some states attempted to opt in and then were stopped by their more conservative legislators. But they worked very hard with one of the state representatives, and I have to call her out because she's an amazing state representative, Morgan Cephas, who did a lot of work around this, and were able to basically get this Medicaid expansion. And when you think about it, one of the things that is interesting is that roughly 4 out of 10 births nationally are for people under Medicaid. And in Pennsylvania, 3 out of 10 births in Pennsylvania ward to people who got Medicaid insurance. So it has had a tremendous impact to have this happen, to be able to get this done, and to have all of these services. The other piece that it does is extends Medicaid coverage of doula services. So you've got postpartum care, you got the doula services, you've got the kind of things that, the three women, Aza and Ann and Dr. Joy, have all been talking about. And so it's really, really important that people hear them, understand what they're talking about, and try to work within their own state legislatures to get some of these things passed.
Thank you. So, Aja, I know you mentioned this in the beginning when we talked about the organization and how it relates to this month initiative, but how does the reproductive justice framework operate within Mamatoto Village? I know we talked about training, but you also mentioned at the beginning, can you reiterate just that briefly, a little bit of how you guys are connected with the, justice framework?
Sure. So at Mamatoto, we really recognize the sovereignty and the wisdom and the history of the person that we care for and the person that's in front of us. For us, justice centered care is dignified. And as Dr. Karen Scott stated, it validates the ways of knowing and the social capital that already exists in the community. And so reproductive justice by definition, and I am going to use Sister Song's definition of reproductive justice, is a term that Black women coined, right? And it's a term that Black women defined for themselves. And at its core, it is the human right to maintain bodily autonomy free from sexual and reproductive oppression and violence, have children, to not have children, and to parent the children that we have in safe and sustainable communities, right? And so at Mamatoto, we support and we consider all reproductive realities, right? And even in the way that people choose to define themselves as they are moving through this parenting journey. We protect choice, right? We prioritize informed consent and refusal, not just as an act, but as an intentional practice. We consider the ways and the intersecting ways that Black women must negotiate their reproductive lives in a system of racism, misogyny, and anti-Blackness. Our model of care and our training really corrects for the historical lack of autonomy over our bodies and over our children by centering the mother, the partner, and the family, by creating safe spaces for birthing people to walk into their power, right? We're not giving them power that they don't already have. We're just being a reflection of that power that exists. And by giving our trainees the knowledge and the resources to care in radically different ways and to see birth work as a transmission of our culture. So that's how we center reproductive and birth justice at Mamatoto in all the work that we do, and as an embodiment of how we choose to show up to care.
Awesome. Dr. Joia, you spoke a little bit about even in the training, medical students and making sure that they understand how racism can negatively contribute to the Black birthing people's care. Did you want to add to that, or should we move on?
No, I'm happy to add to that. So when I was in medical school in the late 1990s, which in my mind is not that long ago,
Me either. I don't think so either.
Yes, my professor, and the name of my class, I just want to say this out loud for everybody to get a sense of this. So the name of my class was Human Prenatal Development. So even the name of the class was to signify to us what we were looking at instead of it being named embryology, right? So really focusing on not the biology, but really the scientific racism. And so in that class, my professor taught us that there was 3 types of skin: mongoloid, caucasoid, and negroid. Also, when I was training as an obstetrician gynecologist, I was taught that there were 3 types of pelvises: that Black women had an android pelvis, that white women had a gynecoid pelvis, and that Asian women had an anthropoid pelvis. So all of these are medical racism. They were still teaching to medical students in the late 1990s. So there's a lot of education that we need to do. So with nurses, with doctors, with all of us, we have to unlearn. And even if they were not in a school that taught the things that I learned, you were in a space where people who were teaching you learned those things to be true. So even after we completed the entire Human Genome Project in 2002, and our President Clinton came out and said there is no Black gene, we're all one human race, my organization still fights all the time with medical professionals, with people at NIH, people at CDC who are still getting millions of dollars to do research looking for a Black kidney, Black lungs, Black pelvises. There is no difference biologically in the Black race. And so anytime someone tells you there's something happening to Black people because we have a biological difference, it is a white lie that has been existing for hundreds of years that they need to stop.
Wow. That was
Okay. And
wow.
so that reframes. So once you realize if you have a belief that we're broken, and all of your resources go to holding on to that belief, all of your power goes on to ensuring that the people that we're talking about, that the resources that Aza and Angela and the policy that Marcela is talking about, that we don't see that as valuable. We only see the value in maintaining the current structure of a hierarchy. So that's what we're reimagining. That's what this moment is, reclaiming the ways of knowing, reclaiming our rightful space and community, that Black women have always had the answers. When we were the grand midwives and we were birthing America, that's the same. We're back again, trying to rebirth America to a more just and a more loving space, and not one that does control. So that's what we have to teach. And I tell you, I could talk every day because the medical students are so excited about that. And what happens is the admissions directors, when they get the letters from the medical students applying, and they write, I want to learn about justice. I heard J. Marion Sims was bad. The professors have no idea what to do with that because they don't know what they're talking about. So they have me to come in and do some talk. But no, what they have to read, we need more people, not just me and Dr. I can't believe it that quickly. Jesus Christ. But it shouldn't just be a couple of us. It should be a lot of us that are doing this work and together. And we need a reimagining. We finally got a new head of the, at the AMA, we have Aletha Maybank. We have a new head of the journal, the JAMA Journal, Karen Scott. Jesus Christ, that's what I was trying to think of. So Dr. Karen Scott, who I learn from constantly, like she is really a leader in this field, bringing up more and more OBGYNs to really reclaim the importance of undoing and unlearning what we were taught in school.
You just said a mouthful. Like you see, my mouth was like open, because now that means you have doctors who still believe that.
Oh, they argue with me. I mean, I'll do an entire.
Doctors still fighting for that.
They fight.
Like you.
They
So
fight.
you have
And we
the
tell them,
wrong
we say,
doctor.
we'll tell them, the data shows, despite income, education, despite even weight, they love blaming Black women for being overweight, right? So when we are normal weight, when we are skinny, we are still more likely to die than a white woman who is obese. So that doesn't mean that we shouldn't exercise and try to eat well, but that does mean if your entire strategy is get prenatal care, lose weight, and go to the doctor and educate yourself. That's your entire strategy. And then you keep saying, why do we have these health disparities? Because you're not undoing the actual harm. We still, Serena Williams, ask Serena, we still die when we're healthy. We still are ignored when we are famous. We're still not seen when we're valued. We have to fight for our lives, no matter if we're board certified OBGYN or not, right? So this idea that we're supposed to save ourselves is white supremacy.
Wow. See, this is why this conversation is so needed. All right, we got to wrap up in just a few moments. But Angela, I want you to tell us about your upcoming conference, Building for Liberation, Centering Black Mamas, Black Families, and Black Systems of Care. Talk about that. You're hosting it in September, and how can we be a part?
Absolutely. It's kind of go up after Dr. Joia.
So
she dropped
I've been inside for a while, Angela.
Yeah,
I'm going to call you. I need to change my OBGYN.
For hours. I really can't. But one of the things I'll say is this, from Aza and Dr. Joia, just thank you for your courageousness, because we really should not easily overlook some things that Dr. Joia just said, because it really requires courage as a board certified physician that she is, to be saying the things that she's saying. And it's off of that and the wonderful and beautiful work Mamatoto Village and so many others in our alliance, that we at Black Lives Matter Alliance felt like we need a special space, a special space just for Black perinatal and maternal and reproductive health professionals to come together, to network, to share information, to present on the great work that they're doing. And so founded Black Maternal Conference and Training Institute back in 2018, and we're bringing it back again this September 17th and 18th to Washington, D.C. we have our fingers crossed that all go well with this pandemic in terms of lowering the number of cases. So in our plans, we're planning for this conference this year to be hybrid. So we are going to have a virtual space for the conference, but we also going to have an space for the conference in Washington, D.C. And so the Black Maternal Conference and Training Institute is considered the pre-assembly for Black women, clinicians, professionals, advocates, and other public health, Black health stakeholders working to improve maternal health using birth justice, reproductive justice, and the human rights framework. The conference does meet a national need for a forum, like I said, dedicated to Black maternal health and Black people working to increase outcomes. And mainly because we know that these types of discussions, we really need to carve out a special space for that and not just have it be like in some other conferences where some of these topics are like at the corner or like maybe 1 or 2 sessions. We are saying, no, we're dedicating our entire conference to these types of conversations, to these types of trainings that is very, very needed. We needed to make this place for a community to come together. And so we want to center Black mamas' voices, experiences in all activity. We have policy track, research and evaluation track, holistic maternity care track, culture shift. There's a track dedicated to special topics. So we're really going to be uplifting the brilliance, the expertise, the innovation, and the scholarship of Black-led and Black women models of care. And we're really, really excited to put this conference on again, September 17th in here. And so you can access all of the information about our upcoming conference on our website at mamasmatter.org. Because definitely this conference is for us and by us.
Got it. Mamasmatters.org. Listen, we're wrapping up because we're getting close to 7 o'clock. This has been so good. Marcela, I'll give you final words so we can close out. What is it that our audience can do to be more proactive? Of course, we can send them to blackrj.org, blackrj.org that you see on the banner, but I'll give you opportunity to close out quickly.
Well, I think that one of the things they can do, as Angela said, is tune into the conference. I mean, I get a lot of information when I talk about Black maternal health because of Black Mamas Matters Alliance. And then, of course, I just sit and listen to Dr. Joia talk, and because she has such a good handle on her profession and what it is we need to do, not just in terms of the care for Black women and birthing people, but also for what we need to do for the people coming up behind her. Is that's where we really do have to have some policy about what they're being taught and how they're being taught. And then, of course, Aza, who's right here in the District of Columbia, fighting the good fight for Black women in the district. And I think that's, I'm here to talk about the policy, but they are the ones doing the work. And so I think people should go on their websites, contribute to their work, share what they see on their website, send it out to their friends, their family members. That's the way we get better health care for Black women and birthing people, is we get the information and share it within our own networks.
Awesome. That's going to do it for us tonight. This has been such a great conversation. We have to come back. Marcela, thank you for bringing all these powerful women every single time, enlightening us. Dr. Joia, I'm going to have to give you a call because I got to change my OBGYN. And Aja, we're going to be following you and Angela to get more information out to our listeners and our viewers as to how we can get involved. That's going to do it for us tonight, ensuring Black maternal health and wellness. This week is Black Maternal Health Week. Make sure you are involved and that you are engaged. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night.
Thank you very